Hello. So, my capstone project is a short film that I wrote called Happy Belated Birthday. It deals with the protagonist who has just turned 18 and she has to make some choices with her culture, the South Asian culture. The two choices that she has are study what her parents want to, or she gets married off. And this is a very common thing in South Asia. And the reason why I wrote this was because I saw this problem in Pakistan as a kid growing up there, but I never realized it until I was older. And this is an important story that I felt like needed to be heard, and I don't see it being talked about enough. And that's why I wrote it. Thank you.
Black screen. Sound of a pencil sketching overshadowing the light sound of a rumbling train. Exterior subway station. Shots of a grim subway. People waiting on a platform. A train runs by. Interior New York City apartment. Day. A figure hiding in the shadows is sketching. We see the cheap room, empty Coke cans, pencil shavings, half-read books, leftover Chinese food. The life in this room is upside down. The sketch artist, Disha, is drawing an unfinished sketch of hands. She looks at her phone, checks her watch. She looks horrified. The phone is ringing. Disha is pacing the room. The phone is ringing. Disha's feet are tapping. Phone rings. Disha answers the phone, puts the call on speaker. The conversation is in Hindi-English hybrid, a sharp, conserved voice that expresses.
Why didn't you answer your phone?
Sorry, I was studying.
We got your message. Congratulations. We're hosting a family dinner party to celebrate.
Disha eyes a rejection letter from Colombia.
Thank you. Wish I could make it.
We do too. It'd be nice for you to meet the Sharma family.
The name Sharma gets Disha's attention. Picks the phone up, starts pacing the room.
What? Why would they be at the dinner?
Well, they live in defense. Vasant and defense are nearby. I think you've been away from Delhi for a bit too long.
But Mom, I'm not even done with school yet.
You're getting hyper for no reason. No one's rushing you. We're going to talk to his parents, have dinner, and Adi lives in New York. So you can meet him whenever you want, okay? Happy birthday, Disha.
Exterior New York City downtown evening. Disha's speed walking with her headphones in, still on the phone with her mom, but it sounds more like a recorded message than a mother-daughter conversation.
I've transferred some money in your account. Buy yourself something nice for your birthday. Something nice. Not those to-go Chinese food boxes. What am I supposed to tell my friends? That my daughter is in New York City, living in a studio, eating out of a can? You're in New York, for God's sake. We want you to have fun. Start swiping those cards.
Disha walks a few blocks. A balloon man, old and frail in a suit, is holding red balloons. Disha passes by the balloon man. The balloon man offers her a red balloon. She waves him off without thinking twice. Balloon man POV. He watches her walk away. Interior ice cream shop. We see a large wall of ice cream flavors and toppings. Intimidated by the wall stands Disha, looking up at the wall. And next to her is Asha, a girl in her 20s who already knows what she wants.
What can I get for you?
Um,
You. Go.
Scoop of cherry chocolate chip, another rum raisin, coconut shavings on top, chocolate drizzle, in a cup with a spoon.
Asha's ice cream is already on the counter. The two look at Disha. Interior ice cream shop, table. Disha and Asha sitting. Asha eats her ice cream and watches Disha.
Vanilla, original.
Asha takes a bite and is hypnotized by the ice cream.
Oh God, try this.
Disha dips her spoon in Asha's cup. Asha notices Disha's slightly black fingers from sketching.
Still using Faber-Castells, I see.
always.
You really gotta get digital with your sketches. That's where the business is going.
You think I could make money going digital?
Yeah, sure.
Like, enough money to live in New York City?
Yeah, why not? But why worry about that? Your parents have that covered.
I'm just thinking about when I move out.
Disha, look at you. You are moved out. There's only moving in from here.
I'm not going back to India.
No, silly, like getting married, having kids, starting a life. You give that a thought?
No.
Well, you gotta start soon.
You're sounding like my mom.
No, honey, that's every brown mom. I was in your shoes 8 years ago.
And?
And I got married and I'm happy. It's really not so bad, though.
Asha finishes her ice cream.
Why aren't you eating?
Disha looks disgusted. We can't tell if she's disgusted by the ice cream or the conversation.
I just think I lost my appetite.
Exterior New York City evening. Disha's walking. About to enter the subway. She turns, looks. She feels like someone is watching her. Interior subway. Disha's on an empty subway, sitting by herself. POV. Someone is watching Disha from the next cart. Exterior subway station. Disha leaves the subway. She checks her phone and she has 10 missed calls from her mom and a voicemail. She opens the voicemail.
Disha, where are you? Your dad and I spoke to Adi's parents, and you have to meet him tomorrow. We gave him your number, he'll be in touch.
Disha's phone starts ringing. It's mom. She answers. Disha says nothing. There's silence on both ends.
How's Asha?
Good.
He's a very nice boy. Nice family too.
Ma, but I'm not even ready.
I saw your class schedule. What is this, Disha? Art History 201, Harmony and Sync?
Ma, listen.
I have been listening, and you've lied to us. We educate you, send you abroad to study, and this is what we get in return? You're going to meet him tomorrow? It's fixed.
Disha's about to say something, but stutters and loses her words. Moments of silence. Disha's face is filled with confusion. How could her parents do this to her?
Okay.
Disha hangs up the phone. She's walking out of the subway station baffled, confused, upset. She's an amalgamation of mixed emotions. The follower is following her up close. She doesn't notice. Cut 2. Exterior Queens, night. Disha is walking with subways above her head. Lit corners, busy streets, looks like Richmond Hill or any other stereotypical Queens area. Disha's on the subway. Exterior, Gantry Plaza, night. Disha reaches this outdoor spot in the heart of winter. She's there by herself. She hears footsteps behind her. She walks quicker, afraid. The footsteps get closer. She stops, turns, looks. No one is there. She turns around to walk and runs into Adi. Late 20s, a sharp-looking guy. He looks much older than Disha. Adi hands her a red flower.
Disha, right?
Disha's shook. She doesn't know what to say, anxious. She's focusing on her breathing. She slightly opens her mouth to say something.
I'm Adi.
No reply. Sound of trains rise. Interior subway station. Disha walks down and descends into a somewhat empty subway station. The balloon man is standing there, waiting. They make eye contact. The balloon man has a hopeless frown. Disha carries fear in her eyes. The two exchange looks. The balloon man offers Disha a red balloon. She considers it. Disha's fear is turning to curiosity. Disha puts her wrists forward. The balloon man ties the balloon on her wrist. The balloon man leaves. Disha walks away. Interior subway. Disha is on the rumbling subway alone. Black screen.
Hello everyone, my name's Madison Newton and I'm a senior this year at Stony Brook University with a major in environmental humanities and a minor in filmmaking. I'll actually be graduating this month, which is super exciting. Today I will be presenting a short documentary film that I've been working on called An Invasive Earth, Long Island. I actually made a similar documentary film to this one my junior year of school, and my end goal is to create a short documentary film series on invasive species in New York State. Hopefully, this is just the beginning, and I will go on to create feature-length documentary films on a variety of important environmental issues after I graduate from Stony Brook. Film has always been a very important medium of artistic expression that I'm drawn to time and time again. Whether I'm watching a favorite movie of mine or I'm creating a short film or a documentary film, it's always been a means for me to show people who I am and show them what I want to do with the rest of my life. I chose the documentary route as I felt that it would allow me to make the most difference and show people, give a voice to these important environmental issues that are still impacting us today, hopefully to inspire change. And with that, I hope you enjoy. Beneath the surface of these calm waters lies a marine world not so different from the one we live every day on land. Here, whether in the shallows or in open ocean, a multitude of plant and animal species coexist together, though not all of them are welcome. In this film, I will examine how the invasive threat has stretched to New York coasts. What is the impact on native species? How can we best protect native marine ecosystems and keep them healthy? What's the impact on commercial fishing and local people? My journey begins. How would you define invasive species, like as an issue, what they are?
Yeah, that's a really interesting and a very complex question. Invasives, I think, really has more to do with the question of scale and time. So one of the things that we know is that, of course, species are introduced into new environments and into new habitats all the time. They either move on their own, they migrate, but in the last really, probably since the advent of any meaningful sort of exploration with ships, there's been the possibility of taking one species from an environment and introducing it into another far away. And we actually know this is a long issue. Everything, from differing kinds of bird species to different kinds of bacterium to the introduction of, diseases and others. And so it's a long issue.
Yeah, so invasive species. Yeah, I think this whole idea of just the fact that there's so much nutrients, it's a shallow bay, so much nutrients, it just encourages many other organisms.
From my research that I had begun prior to the start of filming this documentary project, I thought I had pinpointed the exact invasive organisms I wanted to focus my story on. I had an exact number of animals and an exact number of plants. I was going to focus on the European green crab, the Chinese mitten crab, the European rock shrimp, and dead man's fingers, a kind of seaweed. However, as I started interviewing people, whether they were locals or scientists or even professors of mine, I started realizing that it wasn't so straightforward. There were certain invasives that people who live in the area know more about than I do. Thus, I decided to keep 3 of the original organisms I was going to cover. However, I would also introduce 4 more. So what's your name, sir?
Rob Marsh,
Rob Marsh, nice to meet you. And what do you do working for the DEC?
Natural Resource Supervisor.
Natural Resource Supervisor, okay. And what are you guys fishing for today?
Today we were out for targeting blackfish.
Targeting blackfish, okay.
Short
Any luck?
blackfish. We caught some shorts. We didn't get any keepers. A couple sea bass, a couple porgy, but no keeper.
For one of my interviews for this project, I decided I wanted a fisherman's perspective. My interview with Rob Marsh was very helpful, as we discussed a variety of different crab species and their impact. He informed me that he actually uses the European green crab as bait. So you guys use these for bait for what kind? For
blackfish.
According to the Department of Environmental Conservation, the European green crab has been listed as one of the 100 worst invasive species. Similar to the Asian shore crab and the Chinese mitten crab, it more than likely entered North America through ballast water, hull fouling, or intentional or accidental release. It is also able to tolerate a wide range of conditions such as differing salinities and water temperatures, which allow populations to grow out of control. If this crab species could be used as bait in place of native species, this could actually be a viable solution and a benefit to the commercial fishing industry.
But there's other invasive species that are going to be concerned, especially ballast water comes over from overseas. There's things that people don't think about. Everyone thinks about the larger species like a mitten crab,
right?
Because that's a very obvious one, or the Chinese snakehead, which is in freshwater, not saltwater.
Yeah.
And they're very obvious species, but there's species of plankton and algae and phytoplankton that are bigger concerns than than these larger species. Like we've seen a little bit of changes. It's definitely outcompeted and gotten rid of some of the native crabs, like the green crab. So, but sometimes it's a small stuff that you don't realize that can cause a bigger impact.
So what small things are causing a bigger impact?
I can say that high nitrogen does increase a lot of invasive species because they have no predators and they can take advantage of these things.
So why is there higher nitrogen in the ocean water? And how is this affecting invasives? Nitrogen itself is a very limiting nutrient when it comes to the growth of organisms. The ocean absorbs nitrogen gas from the atmosphere. So when there is too much nitrogen gas in the atmosphere to begin with, that can have devastating consequences on the ocean. Too much nitrogen in the water can lead to an overgrowth of algae. This negatively impacts water quality and ecosystems as it limits the amount of oxygen and sunlight available, strains food resources, and stresses habitats and the organisms that call them home. Another effect of too much nitrogen, and therefore too much algae in the water, is more unwanted invasive species.
One thing that I'm interested in, and it's something that no one else is looking at right now, so it's kind of an interesting topic, are tunicates.
Tunicates are marine invertebrates that attach themselves to hard structures. There they filter feed, mostly on phytoplankton and algae.
I do believe eventually people will be talking about them because they do biofouling, and if you look on the docks, there's a lot of biofouling. It's really having organisms grow in places, usually on man-made structures where they're not wanted, like the hulls of boats or docks, or it can be on things like eelgrass, which is, something that's a habitat. So they can be growing on habitats. They can be growing on any structure that you put in the water.
According to the DEC website, there are two kinds of tunicates that are causing problems in Long Island and New York waters. Those are the Asian sea squirt and the carpet tunicate. Both species are able to grow rapidly in large colonies, and they have the ability to wreak economic havoc in the realm of fishing. Because both species are so hardy and are able to outcompete other fouling species, several dimensions of local marine ecosystems are being thrown out of balance. Harvests of different seafoods that we rely on in our local fishing economies might not be able to recover.
So there's all sorts of different kinds of invasives going on. For example, one of the things on Long Island, we face is the pine bark beetle, which is really devastating the pine barrens. And one of the things is the pine bark beetle is making its way up because of climate change. If we have 10 days of extremely cold, below freezing temperature, it will actually slow the growth of the pine bark beetle the next summer. But if we don't have those 10 days, which last winter was sort of okay, but the 2 winters before that were actually relatively mild. And if you go around the pine barrens, you'll see there's a large percentage of the pines that are infected. Then that leaves a lot of dead trees, and it starts to become a fire risk, and it also begins to change the ecology of the pine barrens. It's actually going to eventually sort of change kind of what the pine barrens is to potentially an oak forest because they're more resistant to the beetle.
In hopes of finding the beetle itself, I went to the pine barrens to take a look around and gather footage. While I didn't see a living beetle, I saw evidence of it everywhere. While I couldn't be sure whether this was evidence of the pine bark beetle, it was a very likely culprit given how sparse the area already was. There were also a number of trees, whether standing or felled, that were covered in holes or had damaged bark. All telltale signs of beetle infestation.
I don't know that there will ever be a time where there isn't a pine barrens. I think there will be a pine barrens of sorts. But unless there are enough trees that are resistant to the pine bark beetle, which doesn't seem likely right now, right? Maybe in 150 years there might be, but for right now there really isn't. And so the only response right now is some sort of mitigation. Sometimes I think a very aggressive mitigation and response is a really good way to deal with things. At other times, we need to be a little more balanced in our response to make sure that we're not creating more problems.
There are solutions out there to control the spread of invasive species. There are ways for us to make a difference. In finding viable solutions, however, we must also keep in mind how climate change might impact their effectiveness. After all, the invasive threat in New York State and the US has become a much bigger issue in recent years.
I think this is going to be a real issue with climate change in ways we haven't really fully understood. Climate change is creating change. 25, 30 years ago, there were lobsters all around Long Island, and now there are not lobsters around Long Island. And maybe that's about water quality and brown tides and all the other, but it's also about sea temperature rise. They've all gone north. And one of the things Maine's experiencing now is they're still going north. And these are all responses to climate change, which means then that something else will be moving in, to take those places. We don't quite know what all of that means. And that's the one that I think it's so important for us to really reflect on, how climate change is not just, some sort of very small environmental issue. It actually is this broader question about so many things changing, and in ways that we're just beginning to understand how and what this might mean, like the pine bark beetle and the pine barrens.
Climate change and global warming have pushed them northward, have changed their behavior, and have made them more successful in outcompeting native species. If climate change continues, who knows what we could see in the future? In order to control these invasive organisms, we have to learn how to control our own invasiveness.
Can we be okay with change? How can we begin to work, at slowing the impact if there is one? And I think also beginning to understand maybe how to slow the possibility of new introductions that we're responsible for. We can see through climate change and through the questions of invasives, we can have an enormous impact on the environment. We can have a devastating impact. I would also say this power comes with a great deal of responsibility. And that responsibility is in part for our future as a species, but also maybe we begin to understand that we bear some responsibility to the native species that might be displaced or eradicated by introducing more invasives. What might a more balanced and a more reflective relationship be? And not that we wouldn't be introducing invasives again in the future, but might we do it in a way that we're more cognizant and aware, which might slow the number or might even then mitigate the sort of impact because we understand what it might mean to do that.
Hello, my name is Ryan Bale. My project is about my journey through filmmaking. I've had a love of movies and enjoyed memorizing every fact that I could learn since I was 2 years old. What some people might consider quirky, I think of as a gift. I had the pleasure of interning and being a program assistant at Donna's House Productions. My mentor, Professor Amy Gaipa, has been inspirational to me and hugely influential in my studies and passion for filmmaking. I spent this summer reaching out to filmmakers to seek their short films to screen at the Mastic Beach Mini Independent Film Festival with their approval. I spent time emailing the many filmmakers after researching and watching the short films across the internet. It was very exciting to get an email back that was a yes. The film festival took place on November 6th and was hugely successful. It was a great experience to show the variety of skills shown by talented filmmakers who are relatively unknown, and to see how a film festival takes place. I thank Amy and James Evans, who is the producer of the film festival, for giving me the opportunity to assist in this fun event. My journey into filmmaking began in late 2017 and early 2018 when I entered the final year of my high school run. Ever since I was a teenager, I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. I have always been interested in the art of storytelling through various different mediums that can convey a wide range of themes and plots that people can relate to. Late high school students and teachers were my first spark of inspiration for really wanting to get into the movie business and using various cinematic techniques to tell a cohesive story with a complex theme. I first took a film class in video storytelling in 12th grade with my teacher, Mr. Ambrosio. There I learned the many benefits of editing and camera work. I went on to do radio and TV production in SUNY Suffolk at Selden, where I learned the basics of script writing, sound editing, directing, and acting. I am currently part of Donna's House Productions as an intern and working as a program assistant for children's programming and horror programming for the upcoming Mastic Beach Mini Indie Film Festival. It focuses on the inner thoughts of a man we don't know we're supposed to like or not, and he's clearly keeping a dark secret. Plays with how we view the stereotypes of bad guys. Character moves to help convey a moment in the story, and it keeps the camera static and lets the action play out on screen. And the director kind of leans into like off shots and at moments of pause to create tension while, consciously like keeping some things off screen to inspire dread. I got the chance to teach the many learning ways on how to do filmmaking to many children who were more than excited to learn about the art of cinematic storytelling. Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Bale. I'm a student at Stony Brook University, and I have been an aspiring film student ever since I was 18 years old. I just started working at Mastic Beach Mini Film Festival as the programming assistant, and I will be your assistant for today's festival. So I just want to welcome you all, and I hope you have a great time here. We all love films, we all love books, we all love music, and without further ado, I want to introduce you to our hosts, Amy Guy. While celebrating my 22nd birthday, I got to show my short film to children who were greatly impressed and left having a great time. Amy and James have been the best co-workers I could ask for. They always take their time to really put effort into their projects to the best of their ability and are always willing to take time out of their lives to help their fellow colleagues in need of assistance. I found Faces Off, and James was so excited that he could screen his favorite short at the MBMIFF, a phenomenal short film dealing with anxiety, life, and things beyond our control. A movie made primarily for aesthetic reasons rather than commercial profit often of an experimental nature or having an unconventional or highly symbolic content aimed typically at a limited audience. They have the unique ability to connect with people through visual storytelling and minimal amount of dialogue. My experience at the film festival was an amazing experience and an absolute treat. I never once thought it was going to be boring, and it did not disappoint. Working on these film projects while searching for short films worthy of Oscar awards was a great opportunity to show off my artistic side and express my love for the art of cinematic storytelling.
My name is Amber. My major is studio art and minor in filmmaking. Don't Open the Box is about a girl who living alone receives some package. It seems like she was talking about someone, but actually is her father with a surprise for her birthday. And the idea comes from some social news, like some female who living alone has to change their recipient's name into male's name in order to keep themselves safe, because some bad guy would likely to target those female. But the ending of my story was different and a bit warmer.
啊，拉开了柜门，一双眼睛正盯着他。
你再讲，我今晚还怎么敢一个人睡？爸，你怎么还没睡？你那不都快0点了吗？
这不是担心你吗？吃饭的时候给你发消息你也没回，那么晚还能回家？
你大点声，我有点听不清。
我说这大晚上。对了，我们手机最近出缺份，你要好好。别老弄你的耳机了，跟你说话呢，认真点。本来你一个人去外州上学，我不放心。
我的课就那么晚，我能有什么办法？再说了，我又不是小孩子，我知道怎么照顾好自己。
哎，你这孩子怎么这么跟我说话呢？
好好好，我最近要考 midterm， 好多事儿，最近先不联系了啊。
In New York City, 2 children narrowly avoided being shot as a gunman shot at a man on a busy city street. And in Austin, Texas this month, gunfire broke out early one morning in the city's nightlife district. One person was killed.
I'm over 21, you can sell me alcohol.
Sorry, policy is policy, just can't do that.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Hey. Could you please let me check out with you? We could say we're in this together.
Sorry, I won't do that.
I will give you extra money. Please?
How are you? I'm good. How are you? Order 235, please. Get your ID, please. Thank you.
If you really want it, you should ask your friends for help instead of asking a stranger.
No, I just want to ask if you would give me your number. My name's Henry. What's yours? Maybe we could hang out when you were free?
No thanks.
Unknown caller.
Go on.
Unknown caller.
Sorry.
All right, guys. I think that's enough for today. You guys did incredibly. It's great working with you, and I'll see you guys in the next class. Thank you. Visit.
哎，怎么样？我今天拍的有那味儿吧？
没拍出我1/1000的美貌。
哎，不过你这么一说，你今天确实看起来有点不太一样了。新买口红了，什么色号啊？
我也不知道什么色号，昨天收了一包裹，拆开发现不是我买的，里面就是口红。
不是你买的，我操，你这都敢用啊？不怕得唇炎啊？万一是哪个变态送的呢？ Don't use it again, girl.
All right, maybe you're right.怎么又坏了？下次换个质量好点。我晚点再玩，这边出了点问题。Hi. I want to know if I got a delivery that doesn't belong to me. Can I return it? The thing is, it has my name and address on it, but I didn't buy it. Can I just throw it away? Oh, okay. I understand it. Thank you a lot. Have a good day.
"你那边事情解决完没有？废话少说，上号。
今天能去你那儿吗？
Geo, right?
Stop following me!
What are you fucking talking about?
教授叫你呢。哎，你怎么了？
我也不知道我最近怎么了，感觉有人跟踪我。
你是不是最近 midterm 压力太大了呀？
midterm 几号啊？不是7号来着。
midterm 是9号，今天才7号，你是不是过懵了呀？7号不是你生日吗？
啊，我都忘了。
哎，不如大家我们一起去你家给你过个生日吧，好好放松一下，怎么样？
喝酒！
对，哎，怎么回事？喝可乐不行啊，罚酒了。
酒。我们走了啊，拜拜。
走，拜拜。哎，你有事一定要跟我说啊。
就没事啊，你赶快回去吧。拜拜。
拜拜，我们走了。
拜拜。